The Awesome Oscillator indicator has a very promising name, and there are a few videos that explain how to trade it. I'm going to take the strategy from this video and explain how to quickly test it in Python. I will code everything from scratch and evaluate whether the trade signals from the strategy are any better than random entries. This down here is the Awesome Oscillator. It's basically two exponential moving averages, the 5 period and 34 period. And the oscillator value up here is the difference between those two moving averages. It effectively tracks the difference between those two EMAs. As the EMAs move further apart, the value increases, and that gives these green candles. On the other hand, when the EMAs start to come together, the distance between them decreases and the histogram turns red. The strategy is looking for a saucer pattern, that is 2 red bars in a row followed by a green bar, like what we've got here. Additionally, all of them need to be above the 0 line. The entry is then on the next candle after the pattern is completed. The stop loss and take profit aren't important at this point. I want to first evaluate if the trade signals are better than random entries. So here I am with a blank Jupyter notebook, and I'm going to start off as always by importing the various libraries that I'm going to be using for this. This includes the standard data science libraries, which will be pandas as PD and NumPy as NP. In addition to this, I'm going to import pandas_TA, which is a technical analysis library, and it will calculate the indicators for me. And I import that as TA. And lastly, to be able to plot things out at the end, I will import matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. Next, I need to load in my actual price data. So I'll create a new data frame and I will use pd.read_csv to extract the data from my CSV file. All of my data is stored inside a data folder, so I'll access that first. And then I'm going to get the S&P 500 hourly candlesticks. And at the end, I can just print out my data frame to see what it looks like. So if I run everything now, this is the output from my CSV file. And there's a couple of things I need to do to clean it up. First of all, I need to parse these dates. And secondly, I need to set date time as my index so that I don't have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 for all of my different rows. So I add that in this first row. I'll say parse_dates. And the column for that is going to be the date time column. And at the same time, I need to update the index column, which is also going to be the date time column. So this time when I rerun it, my date time is now my index and all of the dates have been parsed as date time objects. And this is data from 2015 to the current day. So there's 10 years worth of candlesticks in this data set. Next, I'm going to calculate the Awesome Oscillator. So I will just add a comment here to say calculate Awesome Oscillator. And I will create a new column, which will be called AO for the indicator name. And then I will use that TA library from before. So this just saves me having to calculate all of the components by myself. So I need the AO indicator and it takes in a couple of arguments. So first of all, it needs the high prices. And secondly, it needs the low prices. Using those, it's going to calculate the indicator for me. And all of that will be stored inside this AO column. In addition to this, I need to know whether the bars in the histogram are green or red. So I'll create another column called AO_green. And the condition for this is just going to be that the oscillator value on the current bar is greater than the value on the previous bar. That's what makes the histogram bar green. So I compare the current value, AO, and I make sure that it's greater than AO shifted by 1. So when I shift by 1, I'm looking at the previous row. Now let's output that data frame and just see what it looks like. So I do have my AO and AO green. However, for the first few rows, there's not a value there because it needs a certain number of rows before it can calculate the indicator. But if I change this to df tail just to show the final few rows, let's say 10, then I just see the 10 at the end. And here I can check whether the AO green is working correctly. So from this row to this row, the AO value is increasing and therefore the histogram should be green. But then after that, the value starts to decrease for all of the subsequent candles and this switches to false. So this seems to be working correctly. I can now identify the color of the histogram bars. That gives me all of the inputs. Now I can actually use those to work out my strategy signals. This saucer strategy had two components to it. The first one was that the 3 histogram bars need to all be above 0. So I'm going to add a new column called above 0. And the condition for this is going to be checking the AO value of each of those rows. So I need to check that the first one is greater than 0 and then I repeat that for the two that go before it. So if I just copy this across, but this time I shift this value by 1, and then I do it again, and this time I shift it by 2. Then I'm looking at the current row, the row before, and the row before that. So all three of them are above 0. That's what this will confirm. And then I need the actual saucer pattern itself. This pattern, remember, was that I had 2 red histogram bars in a row followed by a green one. So first I'm going to check the current row, which will be AO underscore green. And I'm going to check that this is true. Then after that, I'm just going to copy this one across, shift it by 1 so that I'm looking at the previous row, but that row needs to be false. And lastly, I do it one more time for the bar before that one. So I shift it a second time. This then says that the current bar is green, but the 2 bars before it are not green, which means they're red. That confirms both of my input signals, which means I can now generate the actual strategy signals. So this will go in a new column called signal, and it will just check that both of those conditions are true, which means that above 0 is true. And at the same time, I do df saucer is also true. So now I'm just going to check that I haven't made any mistakes, first of all. So I'll output my data frame, and that runs correctly, but I'm not seeing any true signals. So I'm going to filter this out first of all. I will just filter the data frame for only the columns that have a signal in them. And here I can see that the first signal I'm getting is on this date. So let's just look at that date onwards. I'll use that as my index. So I'll pass that in here and start from that date and go on to the rest of the data frame. But I also need a few candles before it. So I'm just going to set this to 10 o'clock instead. And now I can see where that signal came at 2 p.m. So up until that point, all of the values were above 0. So that was correct. And then I'm getting red candles one after another until eventually I get a green candle. So that confirms that they're all above 0 and I have a saucer pattern, which then gives me my trade signal. That completes the second big part. I've now got my trade signals. And remember earlier I said that I'm not interested in stop loss and take profits yet. What I want to do is see whether these signals are any better than just picking random entries. And the way I'm going to do that is by looking at the return over a number of different days. So first I will define the range of days that I'm interested in. I will create this as a list and I will just go day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then skip ahead to 20, 25, 50, and 100. The idea here is that once I get a signal, I'm going to calculate the return 1 day after, and 2 days after, 3 days, 4 days, and so on, to see if I take that trade signal, what kind of returns will I get over time. So that means I need to calculate those returns. I need to iterate through this days list, and then I calculate a return. So this will be return underscore, and in the curly brackets, I will pass the I variable. So it's going to take each of those days and put it into the column name. The calculation for this is going to be based on the close price. So this is df close, but I then need to skip ahead that many days. So I pass in shift minus I. So I shift the close price by that value. If this is value 1, for example, then I'm looking at the close price in the next row. That's the purpose of this negative sign at the start. When you shift by a positive value, you go backwards, and shifting by a negative value goes forwards. So shifting by -2 will give me the close price 2 rows after my signal, and so on. Then I take that close price and I divide it by the open price. So we say df open shift -1. Why am I shifting by -1? Well, because the trade is opened at the open of the next candle. So as soon as I have my signal, the entry price is going to be the open of the candle after. So I shift by a -1. Then I close these brackets and I subtract 1 to give me a return. Now let's just output the df again and just make sure that everything runs correctly. So now I've got all of these different returns for the number of days. It doesn't matter right now whether there's a signal or not. It's just calculated it for every single row. So this return here, return 1 for the first row, has taken this close price and this open price, divided them by each other. So it's basically the return of the next day. And that continues with each of these increasing column names. But now what I need to do is filter only those cases where the signal is true. So I only want to look at the rows that have a trade signal in them. I'm going to create a new cell down here, and I need a list with all of these column names. Return 1, 2, 3, 4. All of these need to be in here. I will say ret underscore columns is equal to, and I'll just use some list comprehension here to automate this. I'll name it ret underscore curly brackets day for day in days. So if I print this out just to show what it looks like, it's just the name of all of those columns. Next, I'm going to filter my data. I'll create a new variable called sysResults for my system results. And this will take the data frame filtered by only the rows that have signal value. So whenever signal is true, that's the rows that I'm interested in. And from there, I don't need open, high, low, close. All I need are those return columns. So let's see what this looks like now. sysResults. These are only the rows where the signal value is true. So I have a trade. And then I have all of the different returns for the increasing number of days. Now, using this information, I'm going to calculate the profit factor based on each of these trades. To calculate the profit factor, I first need to get my profits and my losses. So my system profits are the system results, which I just calculated, but they're filtered on the condition that system results are greater than 0. And then I need my total profits, so I will sum all of this up. Then I repeat the same thing, but this time for my losses. So this is sys_losses. It's still filtered by system results, but now I'm looking for values below 0. However, this is going to give me negative values, so I need to add an absolute all around it, which will convert the negative into a positive. And lastly, I just calculate my system_profit factor, which is system profits divided by system losses. Now let's output this and see how it looks. So everything is calculated correctly, and I have a profit factor for each of those different hold durations. But I think it's better to visualize this with a graph. So I'm going to get rid of this and add a new cell block underneath here. For this plot, I'm just going to paste in the code because there's quite a lot of typing and it's not really that important for the backtest itself. So I create my figure, define a few variables, and this is the important part. So this is where I plot as a bar chart my system profit factors. So if I run this code now, I get a little bar chart here that shows the different hold durations and the profit factor associated with them. A profit factor of 1 is break even. So anything above that is profitable and anything below that is unprofitable. It means that the losses are bigger than the wins. And what this shows is that as soon as there's a trade signal, the following candle does seem to produce positive results. But the candles that come after it are mostly around break even or even slightly unprofitable. But this alone doesn't give me the full picture. This is taking only the rows that have a trade signal. So what I'm going to do next is compare it to the rows that don't have a trade signal. So basically all of the other rows in this data set. So I go back into this column where I calculated my system results earlier. And this time I want to get the remaining rows, which are actually more or less the same as above. So I copy this down, but inside of my filter, I'm going to add in this symbol. So this inverts it and basically says that I want everything except for the rows that have a signal in them. Now I can calculate the profit and loss in the same way for each of those individual rows. I will just copy this down and I will replace system with bench for benchmark. And then I will replace all of these with remaining _ rows. And lastly, I just need to calculate the profit factor for my benchmark. So I change all of these to bench. I'll rerun the cell, make sure it works. So that's okay. And now I can just plot that into my bar chart. Copy this across to save having to type it all out again. And if I run this code a second time, I now have these green bars as well as my blue bars. So the green ones are the benchmark. And what this shows me is that for most of the scenarios that I checked here, the signals generated by this strategy are actually worse than just picking a random entry. Yes, there are a couple of scenarios where that's not the case, but they seem more like outliers than an actual edge to the strategy. So in conclusion, this strategy doesn't outperform randomly picking entries. However, the important thing is that we now have this framework that can be used on other instruments and other timeframes. So by passing in different datasets or changing the time frame, you can retest this and see if you can find something else that does work. And I encourage you to tweak this code, try different combinations and see what you can find.